Hey guys, welcome out to the shop today. We are working on building an urn box. Recently somebody passed away and I was asked to make this. So we have chose to do a red cedar box, and you can do your calculations for what size box you need online by doing a cubic feet measurements, which is length, width, and height. So we are starting off with this one piece of board, and I'm just going to get my marks laid out for just kind of how the dimension overall is going to be, and then we're going to end up breaking it down into smaller pieces to get the box sides made up first. So we are going to first be marking out just my basic sizes, which is going to be 9 by 12. So I'm just going to be and then from there I'll be able to make all my other cuts, which are going to be 45-degree angles. So I'm just going to line that up and get this section cut out to make it a more manageable size. So I got all 4 pieces cut out, and I kept them all in line so that whenever I lay out the box and glue it up, it will all match. These are all about an 1/8 inch oversize. So even though I'm fairly confident that my table saw readings are correct, I'm always a little bit skeptical, and I always use a bevel gauge, or like a bevel finder or angle finder, and try to do my 45s that way. I need it on the other side of that blade. And we're going to try to get it as close as possible. And there it is, 45 degrees, right on the dot. And see, the table saw is saying that it's at 44 degrees. And if I adjust it to correct over here, I don't think it's correct over on the 0. But I'll go ahead and correct that real quick. So before I cut any of the bevels on these corners, I want to go ahead and get the rabbet cut out on this, and I'm going to be using the hand plane for it. So the nice thing about this is it's got its depth stop, and it's got a nicker so I can score it coming backwards. So I'll make sure that it's straight, come back, and then I'll be able to go forward and start taking off . You need to make it a little bit deeper. I'm getting a nice even go through this, and that broken piece is almost completely gone. We're almost at our correct depth. And you can hear the sound of the wood being planed change. So that means that we're at the correct depth all the way across. So this piece is done. I got the other ones to finish up, and then we'll go ahead and cut those bevels. Went ahead and got all my 45-degree angles cut, and I just did a rough fit and everything looked good. This board, whenever I joined it together, this little rabbet right here was a little bit smaller, so I had to get my rabbet plane or the moving philister, and I found out that it was a little bit high right here, so I went over this one board again, but everything else matched up. All the corners looked good for a dry fit, and we're going to be using the painter's tape trick by just laying the painter's tape in between each piece of wood and then folding it all up into a big square and then squaring it up afterwards, and everything should work out fine just like that. So the way that I've always done it is I've always laid each board over on its inside, and I'll tape each of the joints with the painter's tape, and then I'll flip the entire thing over, and then I'll put glue on all the joints and then be able to fold it up. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm going to add some clamps around here and make sure that all these corners are completely flush with each other. But other than that, we're just waiting for the glue to dry. After it becomes a little bit tacky, I'm going to try to run a chisel down each of the corner and just kind of get the skim of the glue off of there, so I don't have to worry about sanding it or it affecting any of my finish. So yeah, we have a box with painter's tape. So I went ahead and cut out 2 pieces for the top. When I did that, this is already 3/4 of an inch thick, and so I flushed up this end right here, joined these 2 together, and then I will trim out this side to get a perfect match or perfect fit for how I want to do it. And this is the box with the recessed base, and this is the part that I'm going to be putting in there. And I'm going to be resawing this down to whatever half the thickness is. And yes, this is a little bit longer, but I wanted to do the same thing that I want to do with the top. So I'll resaw this, re-glue it back up together, and it should be, then I'll be able to cut it down to the exact dimension of what this base is, because we'll end up having to screw this base into the actual box. So the box turned out very nice. All the corners look good. I took a scraper to it and already cleaned up all the glue on the actual sides, not on the base yet. So we're gonna go ahead and get this base resawed and glued up. To do your resawing and getting your mark, you don't really have to have any kind of lines or any kind of measurement. What you would do is just take your marking gauge and make an indentation on your wood, and then you would flip it over to the other side and see if they line up together. And I got lucky, this is almost exact. So we're gonna go ahead and use that, but if it was off centered a little bit, you would just move it over to correct your position of this. So I'm going to go ahead and get my layout mark on this and both ends, and then we'll take it over to the bandsaw and get this resawn. Now when you're doing your resawing, you really want to make sure that you don't have this up too high, or else you get a little bit of blade drift. I got good tension. I don't have a lot of wobble in between my 2 bearings. So we're gonna go ahead and get this resawn. And when I do it, I wanna make sure that that blade is going right down the middle on my mark, so that it is the kerf of the blade or the set of the teeth, they kind of cut evenly and not just off to one side. So this is after I got these cut, and this gives it that book match effect. So as you can see, I have the knot right here. I did try it the other way, and I like this way a lot better with the two knots right here in the middle, because you got the grain coming in and up from both directions. So when we go to glue this up, we want to make sure that this is placed on the clamps, and this will give us that flat surface, and then we'll be able to either hand plane or put this in a planer to get this completely flattened out, and then we'll be able to cut it down to the correct dimensions. So we're going to go ahead and get this little joint glued up right here, and then we'll just wait for it to dry. Alright guys, so we got to use the spline jig a little bit, and after you get that done, you guys want to cut out some of your little tabs to put in your spline hole, and then you cut it off and you get a nice little corner just like that. This still has to be all cleaned up, sanded, finished, everything like that. Alright guys, so I got the keys cut out and I got them installed and glued, and now all I'm using is a dovetail saw, and I'm just working it. I put it up against the box flush and I cut it out that way. And you want to make sure that you don't cut into the box at all. You just want to cut it flush. If it's a little bit bigger, that's fine, because when we go to sand it, it'll make it all nice and flat. So I'm going to work on getting these all cut out, and then move on to the next step of probably putting the base of this to get fitted. And we still got to do the top. So I have the bottom right here and the top. I'm still trying to create or figure out what kind of molding or edge I want on this. So I went ahead and used a cabinet scraper on the box and got all of the pieces flush. I realized with a sander I wasn't able to get the keys actually flush with the box, but with a scraper I could actually scrape it down and get them nice and flush. So those are all done, and I'm working on the base real quick. Now I book matched this bottom, and the bottom of the box is 7 5/8 inches on the inside, and this is 11 inches. So dividing that in half gives me 13 3/16 off of this center point right here. So I'm going to try to get it as close as possible. So we got 3 3/16, and then we do 3/16, and we just do it back at the 3. So now if we take our measurement, we should have 7. No, we don't. What am I doing wrong? 3/16 both ways. Let me look on the calculator again. Oh, 13/16. Okay, so that's my fault. 3 13/16 is what this should be. So we do 6 13/16, and we go to 3 inches, and then we do 3 inches, and we go out to 6 13/16. Now we should have the 7 5/8. So far line to far line, and there we go. We got 7 5/8 now. So we should be able to cut off the exact same amount on both. which is 1 5/8 inches. Alright, so my second cut, I'm gonna go a little bit shallower. I've moved my fence in a little bit, and I will make my first cut, and then I will do some test fits just to make sure that I'm not gonna overcut my piece, and then this will just like drop right through the whole entire bottom. So I'm gonna go a little bit heavier on the side, and I can always trim it up. Brought my box over here, and you can see that it's not fitting in side to side yet, so I'm gonna take off just a bit more. So now that fits in side to side, and we'll cut it down to the proper length. Still just a little big. Alright, so now we've gotten our bottom of the box in, and this is actually going to be screwed in. It's not going to get glued in at all, so that's good. And we're going to be starting off by trimming up this edge. This edge was flush, and I like the width of this, so we're just going to trim up this to get a nice square edge to work off of. So I've been working on the top of the box, and it was a complete failure. Decided to go ahead and try out a molding plane, and it was this complex one right here, which is a very nice one. It was by T. McIntosh. Gave out a great, fantastic design. Really was happy with it until I got from the end grain to the long grain. So when you're doing hand planes and complex molding planes and stuff like that, you have to do the end grain first. And when you do the end grain, you have to always put a block of wood on the end, or else you'll cause tear out. So it gave this nice profile right here, and I was very, very happy with it. Came out really low on the side, which is what I was looking for, and it would thin up the side of the box top, but leave the thickness of the box top the same. Well, it was my fault with not really, I guess, understanding the profile correctly, and then also gluing up my top incorrectly. So as you can see, my top looks fantastic right here in the middle. It's completely knot free. This area would have been perfect to do hand planing. This area, not so much. I have knots. I have 3 knots on this side, 2 on this, and 1 right here on the end. And that is a complete disaster for trying to use hand planes. It tears it out, and when you have a knot, you have grain going all sorts of different directions. And as you can see by right here, I was good right here, and then I had a bunch of tear out on this side. So I knew I was going to toss this because of the knots and getting the tear out from my first knot on this side. This was the last edge I did, and I had really bad tear out right here. Even after making sure my iron was really sharp, I mean, it just took that knot right out. But I really like the top of that box, except for where the lines overlap here in the corner. So that kind of stinks. But I really do. I like how it comes up with a little bead right here, and then all the way around the top, and then it's got the little concave edge right there I think that's the ovalo, but then it's got a little bevel on this edge right there. You can probably see it. Well, where's that extra piece? You guys can see it fairly nice right here. It's got that nice little lip right here, comes up, and then it's got that nice little bead. So this is actually for molding that would go up on a wall, or I guess you could do it on the baseboard of something. So it's not made to overlap, and I didn't think about that part I did not realize that the molding plane was going to create that top little bead right there. I thought it was just this section, but then I was like, oh, well, I'll keep on going with it, and then, you know, disaster. So top number 2 is gluing up, and as you can see, I have no knots around the outside perimeter of where I will be doing any kind of planing or routing or anything like that. I'm sure that if I used a router, it wouldn't tear out if I hit the knots, but using the hand planes, it doesn't fare too well with them, and I don't want to damage the hand planes either, so that's why I'm redoing it. Oh, well, I messed up the other one anyway, so making sure that I have all the knots on the inside. Alright guys, so I've changed my plans again for this box top. It's been about a week or a week and a half since gluing up the other one, and I really just don't want to waste the one that I first started with. And I started looking at it, and I'm gonna actually have to recess the middle of it inside the box anyway to kind of make a better seal on it. So I went ahead and put the box on top of the top and drew out the inside lines, and it actually, I can cut away the other molding that got ruined. So I'll probably use a router maybe and just kind of clean that up and go around and just clean it up and make it so that it's recessed all the way around, just like one big giant rabbit all the way the whole thing. So I started looking for a simpler molding plane that creates a good design, and I ended up finding this one right here. I don't know if you guys can see the design of it, but you guys will. I've already done one of the end grains, and it looks really good, so we're gonna go ahead and show you guys doing the other one. Alright, so now you can see this is the finished profile that I'm looking for this design, and then I'll have to do the 2 long grains, and then everything under here will be taken over to the router table, and we'll just work on getting all that removed. So that is kind of the corner that I'm going for. The end grain will still have to get cleaned up with some sandpaper or something, but I like this a lot better, and I don't have as much tear out. This was a lot simpler to make, and it will still look good on top of this box. So after comparing the router table to the table saw, I realized that I had a nice even mark all the way around the inside of this box at 2 inches from the edge, and I got to thinking that I could probably do this a lot quicker on a table saw. I can do all 4 sides and just move it over 1/8 of an inch each time, and I can get the actual full depth instead of running around multiple times moving the router fence in and out, because I don't have a 2-inch bit. So I can get the actual depth with this and get the width done in probably no time at all. So this is the result after, I don't know, probably about 15 cuts on each side. And then when you get to this point, pretty much you can just take like a chisel or something and just break these little tabs apart. So after you broke off all your little extra pieces by hand, I'm taking a chisel and just kind of running it in a skewed fashion just to kind of clean it up any closer that I can. That way it makes the hand planing easier. And you can't use a block plane or anything like this. I tried to, and then I forgot that the blade doesn't go to the edge. So what you would need to do is use like a rabbet plane, and here I've got a skewed rabbet plane because it makes it a lot easier to cut with the across the grain and stuff like that. So I'm just running that is very nice right there. So we got the box all completely sanded, and I've already sprayed the inside of the box with some poly, and all I'm using is this fast drying polyurethane. With a box being this small, I didn't want to buy a big gallon and try to spray it. So now will be the actual true test to see how the keys look on this. I like that. Man, that really stands out with the two different kind of colors. Well guys, here is the finished box. It has about 5 coats of polyurethane sprayed onto it, and the top has been glued on. So I took a quick pause and went ahead and hit up the top with some of the sandpaper, and then applied a little thin coat of paste wax, which is right there, and then I went ahead and burnished it in with like a paper bag type of deal, and now it's really super smooth, and I really like the sheen of it. I don't know if you guys can really tell that well on the camera how well you know how it looks, but I like it. Thanks guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the little box build. This was fun. This was the first time that I've ever incorporated the keys in a box. I've done it on like picture frames and stuff like that, but this was the first time I've ever done it on a box. I really do like the color choices as well, with the red cedar and then the yellow heart for the keys. The finish looks great as well, and I'm really happy I didn't just go ahead and throw out the top. We really did save it. I thought it was just gonna be completely trash, but I'm happy with the molding that I chose out as well with the hand plane. Thanks guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button. I appreciate you guys watching. Hit the subscribe button if you guys are new, and we will see you guys on the next video.